Been a minute, huh? Well, there's been a lot of news, some major releases from Canon, Nikon, Sony, Lumix, Fujifilm, who's crushing it, Angelbird, some crazy responses at trade shows, and it is only mid-March. Yeah, so stick around. We got to rewind for a second. What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here, Last Witness, and this is Adorama Rewind. I know I haven't been on here for a quick minute, but look, things got hectic, and you can see that all over Adorama TV and the channel. We've been cranking away at new product announcements, some content for you guys, instructionals, tutorials, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into anything content creation, photo, video, lighting, audio, whatever, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when we put up more videos. But for those of you who know this show and this channel, welcome back. Let me know that you're there in those comments. Say hello. I haven't seen any of you in quite a while. But let's just jump right into this because it is only, like I said, it's only mid-March and there's been a ton of stuff to talk about. I could rewind forever and talk about some of the crazy things that have been going on, but let's start off with some things that are of right now, including Angelbird. So Angelbird is a very well-known memory manufacturer. I'm talking SSDs, high-end stuff, CF Express Type B, SD cards, and MicroSD. So I have right here their new MicroSD cards that are joining the rest of their MicroSD cards. So let's quickly take a look at this stuff. Bingo, we're looking at the new arrival of the 256 gig V30 card, which joins their V60 card. You can see there's a price difference here, right? I mean, less than half price of the V60 card, but still able to do things like 6K video. And then their other release is a V30 512 gig card for, again, microSD. So not only are these great microSD cards, some really solid speeds of 80 megabytes per second sustained speed on the 512 gig V30 card, but their V60 cards are 140 megabytes per second. But not only that, they're also considered quote unquote rugged. So I'm reading the back of the box here for you guys. It can handle shock, dust, moisture, X-ray, magnets, and it's claiming to be temperature proof. So think about it. If you're out there doing drone work or GoPro stuff or whatever, that's really what takes microSD cards in this era, and you're putting them into some precarious situations. Now you know you have some memory that can handle it. So if you are a fan of Angelbird, like I am, you might want to check these out for some of your stuff. I know this is going to go into my DJI Pocket 2, some GoPros, and I'll be honest, it's probably going to end up on my Nintendo Switch when I get into the next Breath of the Wild game, right? Who else is playing that, by the way? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, yeah, so that's new from Angelbird. I figured I'd let you know. Links down below, of course, to all of this stuff if you guys want to check out the specs yourself. Just remember, when it comes to memory, it's not about the max read and write speed. It's about the sustained speed. That is the minimum speed it's going to have, which shows you where it's going to be the bottleneck, if at all, for things like your buffer or video capabilities. So always look at the sustained speed on your memory. Let's move on. I want to jump into Sony land. So there's been two lenses I want to talk about. One is this Sony G Master F1.4 50 millimeter. So this is a nice lens, right? We got a nice premium 50 millimeter lens, fast aperture, and our own Sal D'Elia did the video on it. So I'll put the link to that down below. You can see what the bokeh looks like. You can hear his thoughts on it as a filmmaker and taking some stills, and you can get some examples of images out of this lens. But if you're looking for just a really solid 50 millimeter lens, you've got one right here, and it's G Master. And what I think people don't know about the Sony lineup is that if you go G Master, you're more likely to get more of the specs you went into the Sony Alpha line with. What am I talking about? Well, things like getting focus breathing compensation. The IBIS is updated in the firmware of the lenses to work better with the bodies in some of the lens cases. So there's a frame rates. Some of the Alpha bodies out there, you need to have G Master lenses to get the full frames per second of shooting burst modes. So if you're looking at a 50 millimeter and you want to get the full capability out of your Sony, you might want to look at Sony lenses, and they've been on a mission to put out some solid glass. In fact, I want to talk about this one, which isn't exactly a new release, but I think it is worth talking about. So this is the 20 to 70 millimeter f4G. Now, what I wanted to talk about with this lens is the thing that I don't think you're hearing a lot out there is the 20 to 70, right? It usually hear 24 to 70. So why 20 millimeter? Well, in my opinion, it's to help out with the focus breathing compensation. It's cool that you can actually have a compensation for focus breathing, which means the frame doesn't change as you focus the lens. So it's not like giving you this like jerky look that some you might know from what focus breathing looks like. Well, they have it in their bodies that they have a compensation, which has a tiny crop. Not a big deal, but if you have a 20 millimeter instead of a 24 millimeter and you enable focus breathing compensation, that 20 millimeter is a little wider than 24, right? So it's not such a crazy crop to you if you're trying to get wider angles out of that lens. So I think it's kind of smart in this situation where they're making the glass optimal for their system. They're thinking of the Sony Alpha system and they're giving you options to go really nicely with the feature sets in those bodies. So if you're in the market for a pretty good, nice zoom lens, the 20-70 millimeter f4 for the Sony series, check it out. Of course, links down below. I wanted to talk about Canon too. So Canon released 2 cameras and some lenses too, but let's talk mainly about the cameras. So we actually got to do a video with Misshattan, our girl Natalie. We like her a lot. What's going on if you're watching, girl? And she shot the R50 and the R8 in the Canon mirrorless line, right? The RF mount, right? So what's going on here? Well, the R50 is kind of what I would say is looking like the M50 Mark II, but with the RF mount. So if you're in the RF mount already for full frame, or maybe you have a crop sensor already and you want like a smaller camera, a second camera, or just like an easy vlog camera, you have it right here. Or let's say you're someone that's getting into this and instead of going into the M50 Mark II, which is the M mount, maybe you want to get into the R50 so that you can add and go and evolve into more of a system with the RF line, with full frame, the glass, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you end up with an R5, although I will go over some specs. Let's do this. 24.2 megapixels on an APS-C crop sensor, obviously. It is a tiny, tiny camera, tiny body, very compact, not kidding. 12 frames per second in continuous shooting, but it's 15 frames per second in electronic shutter. And you also get 6K oversampled, uncropped 4K video. So that's pretty heavy video specs for such a little jammer like this, especially at this price point. And you should note that this is also a camera that has an EVF. So it's not just an LCD screen. You have the option of shooting from the screen or the EVF, which is nice in sunny situations when you can't see the screen. Or if you want to review your photos, you can go right there in the EVF right to your eyeball. It's a nice little thing to have if you are someone that likes that EVF type shooting like I do. But let's go into the R8. This one I think is pretty interesting. And I think the messaging about the R8 is a little short-sighted. What am I talking about? Well, they're looking at this camera as a full frame and they're going quote unquote entry level mirrorless camera. So they're actually trying to go Canon, my first mirrorless. That's kind of what they're going for with this whole campaign on this thing. While it is, an entry-level full frame, what I think people aren't really talking about is the video capability is pretty strong in this. So while it is a 24.2 megapixel full frame sensor, and it's basically in the same body, almost of the RP, it has the autofocus you want, the dual pixel autofocus that you know from Canon. It's got the 6K oversampled, uncropped 4K video. Yes, and that's what I want to talk about, because let's say you are somebody that is in the R5C or the C70 or something. This will give you Canon Log 3 and HDR PQ. This will give you 4K 60 frames per second. This will give you oversampled 6K. So what am I trying to say here? If you're someone that's in Canon system for heavy end video, higher end video, maybe smaller cinema, this is a great B cam, multicam setup, crash cam, all sorts of things to add on to that system without having to buy thousands of dollars in another camera. You're looking at $1,500 for that camera. So maybe you don't need all the features of one of those cameras that you're using already. You just need something with a second angle, a multicam, 2-person setup, whatever. I think that's kind of more of the discussion. Yes, it's got an easier price point. Yes, it's full frame. Yes, it's easy to use, so it's got the entry-level thing written all over it. But it's also got beat cam written all over it too, in my opinion. Let me know down below if you agree with me, because I kind of think that no one's kind of saying this, and I think it could be a nice addition to a lot of kits out there for sure. And don't forget, you can check out Misshattan's videos down below in the links. Go in that description. I'm going to jam this thing with links for you guys, so don't forget to check that out. But let's go head over to Nikon land because I actually did the video for this one and I was super excited about this release. I'm talking about the Nikon 85mm f1.2 S for the Z mount. And if you notice, they put an S on that lens just for me because I've been waiting for it for a long time. I did the video for this and it was everything I thought it was going to be. It is incredible. And they also have a 26mm f2.8 pancake lens, which is over here. So it's a cool little release, the 26mm, but the big one is the 85mm f1.2. And you can see from these images that I had a blast shooting with it. Now, this is a premium piece of glass. I think I say like 60 times in that video, but it's kind of special because of the 1.2. Now, a lot of people are like, what? I don't get. If you're a Nikon shooter and you came from DSLR F mount, you know that there wasn't a lot of 1.2 lenses out there for the F mount, and the Z mount was their chance to really bring it to the forefront. 85mm is such a nice focal length to have that type of aperture on there. So it's an 11 blade aperture, not 9 blades. It's a rounder shape. Check out the video. Take a look at my images. I only had a couple of hours with that lens. Matt Irwin, however, had a month. I don't know what he did to get that carte blanche, but yeah, he's psyched on this lens too. You can go check out his channel for some videos on that. But check out my video first, okay? Just hit that link if you're interested in the 85mm 1.2. And the 26mm f2.8 is a fun little tiny pancake lens that is a nice little street lens. If you want something that's lightweight, throw on a smaller body, and not have to worry about, the presence of the camera, that's kind of where it is. It's a wide, but not too wide, 2.8. So it gets you a nice fast aperture. And, it's just easy to carry around. And I think I said that in the video where it's just like an easy lens. So check that out. The reason I bring this up is I know it's not a brand new release right now because I did this video like a month or so ago, but it is about to ship. So we're looking at maybe in the next week, 2 weeks, we're going to start seeing it ship from the pre-orders. So keep an eye on that if you're someone that's in the pre-orders for that. I really want to talk about this one though. So Lumix, yeah, S5 II. This is a big deal. The S5 II and the S5 IIX. These are full frame cameras from Lumix, but the big deal isn't the 24.2 megapixel sensor. Yes, it's got great stabilization with 6.5 stops. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, the stabilization of this camera is phenomenal. Yes, it's got unlimited 4K 60p recording. We all know Lumix is known for having great video capabilities. A lot of video shooters have leaned on their system for a long time, but still shooters have had some struggles with the system. But here's where it changes, because now look at this: fast, accurate, phase hybrid autofocus. Yeah, that's right. This is the next phase of Lumix. We are looking at phase detect autofocus in Lumix cameras, not contrast based. It's hybrid contrast phase detect like most cameras out there. And this has been, until now, maybe a pain point for some people in the system. Video guys use a lot of manual focus, so they didn't really care too much. But this is really kind of opening up the idea that this is an option for some people out there that might like this system or haven't given it a chance. They might like the layout, the interface, the colors they get out of it, the lens selection, which is a great lens selection. You've got Lumix lenses, Sigma lenses. You've got L mount on these things, which is Leica, Sigma, Lumix, and now DJI apparently has joined that as well. You have a lot of options out there for the L mount, believe it or not. So if you're thinking of switching to a system, if you're looking for something with heavy video specs and you're just wanting to get a few things still wise out of it, maybe you're a video shooter that's kind of going more into stills, this might be where you want to go. All right. Or if you had Lumix in the past and you liked what you got out of it, but the focus just wasn't there for you for whatever reason, this might be where you want to go. This deserves a lot of attention because it is a major change and shift from where they were. So check out the S5 II. If you are more of a video shooter, you might want to look at the S5 IIX because there's some things that you get with the S5 IIX that are well, it's really designed for video, like things like recording to an SSD drive right out of the USB port. So if you're doing a lot of video and eating up all those gigs, it's easier to have an SSD, especially when you can take it right out of the camera, work right off of that drive for editing, things like that. Also, the S5 IIX is pretty sleek because you can get it in like this all black. Here, let me show you. In right here, you can get it all blacked out. See how the Lumix is blacked out? And then the Lumix is white on the S5 II normal version. I don't know what you would call that. the original version. And I don't know what you would call the the original, but the S5 IIX has this very sleek production, low key look to it. So that's how you can tell the difference of which one is which in the wild. But yeah, you know, I think people have not really considered Lumix as much as some of the other brands like Sony, Canon, Nikon, Fuji, even. But it's just it's a system that I think you have to at least give it a shot and see if it's for you. Okay, especially the video quality out of it and the video capability if you're looking for something like that. Let's kind of dip into Fuji land a little bit because I got a lot to say about Fujifilm here. So Irix, which is a lens brand that I actually like quite a bit, they make cinema feeling lenses. They have a very long throw focus, they're manual focus, very well constructed. I find them very sharp and very cost effective. Well, guess what? Now they are adding support for Fujifilm X mount, which is great. This means that you can take their lenses and put them on Fujifilm X mount bodies. And Fujifilm has been pumping in video specs like no tomorrow in their cameras, and it's been pretty awesome and very well received. I know our own Fernando Martinez has been filming with the Fujifilm X-T4 for a long time, and now he's on the X-H2S. So this is kind of exciting because they already make really great cinema lenses with Fujinon lenses out there. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know that the Fujinon lenses are great. Well, now you have another cinema style feeling lens like Irix to add to that. And, you know, they got T-stops. We're talking, what are they got 150 millimeter T 3.0. Yeah, so T-stops are from f-stops. If you need a quick rundown, f-stops are theoretical, T-stops are actually measured light. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. This video will go on forever, but if you're a video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The reason I really wanted to like lean into Fujifilm is they had a massive announcement. Before we go into that, I'm just going to talk about really quickly. Imaging USA was awesome this year in Nashville, Tennessee. And that was well attended. I taught there and it was killer. My one class alone had 700 people. And that was the first week of January. This set the tone for the year, I feel, because WPPi just happened in Las Vegas. And man, Adorama went all in with a booth. I got to teach a bunch of classes. I'm trying to bring up these photos right now if I can. There we go. So this was the Adorama booth at WPPi. We had a demo area to the left where myself, Vanessa Joy, Amber, and Garrett Baird talked, and a few others did live demos to teach you guys or be right there for your questions and do things right on the spot to show you guys how to do lighting techniques and shoot and stuff like that. I think Vanessa Joy did posing. I, however, went a completely different route and I shot a Mandalorian. So yeah, this is the Photolorian. He was hanging around, and he shout out to him. I'll put his social down below. He reached out to me. He's like, hey man, would you let me be part of your demo? Because nobody wants to shoot me. I'm so reflective. And I was like, absolutely. So I completely shot this guy with a Brooklyn reflector and all sorts of stuff. And the crowd was great. So if you're there, let me know in the comments if you were at that demo or any of my classes at WPI. It'd be great to hear from you. And then this was the shot I did with it. I bounced the light off of my white shirt. And yes, that is a pizza box in my hand to fill it all in. And that's the shot I ended up with. So I think it did it all right. The reason I wanted to bring this up, though, is Fujifilm had this massive party, right? And they had this guy dressed like a cloud running around this party. And I'm talking, there was a ton of, you could not even move in this place. It was so high energy. It was crazy. But why was this guy dressed like a cloud? Well, that's easy because Fujifilm announced a collaboration with Adobe to offer camera to cloud native integration. What am I talking about? What does this mean? Well, I got to try it out. So this is me at an art installation in Vegas getting snuck up on, but they gave me an X-H2S to mess around with the Frameio built into it. And what do I mean built into it? I mean, for real, when you take a look at that camera, inside of it, right there, it says Frameio right there in there. It is built in. So what does this actually mean? All right, let's break this down. What Frameio inside the camera lets you do is, as you're shooting in real time via a Wi-Fi connection, yes, it does depend on the Wi-Fi, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit. It goes from your camera to the cloud in real time into Frameio. So while other cameras let you shoot to a cloud, it's their cloud. This lets you take it into an ecosystem of Frameio and Adobe, which a lot of people work in, and you can actually be shooting something like a press event, and it's going into someone who's already editing or curating some sort of publication while you're already just there working as a pro photographer, right? Or a sporting event, right? Shooting to wire. Well, this is going right from camera to cloud. This is all thanks to Victor Ha, by the way, who is a vice president of electronic imaging for Fujifilm and is one of the best people in this industry ever. And he saw this vision. He just went right up to Frameio and said, "Hey, I heard you doing camera to cloud. Where's your camera?" And they said, he's like, "Cool, let's talk." And that was less than a year ago. And now here we are at WPPi with cameras in hand, shooting right to cloud. And it is not just images, it's also Apple ProRes proxy video going to the cloud. But it doesn't just stop there. Not only is this happening, and I'm telling you from personal experience, in almost seconds, in mere minutes, you're watching frames go right into people's phones while you're shooting them. Not only is that happening, but they are building out these pathways and partnerships with other integrations. So they also partnered with Imagine AI. Now, Imagine AI will let you develop your own AI-styled editing. So let's say you're shooting a wedding and you trust this thing to edit your images the way you want them to, and it can be all over the map, from super subtle to somebody else's style to you teach it how you edit, whatever. I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole, but you know what I'm saying. So you can shoot something. It goes up to cloud. Imagine AI edits it in seconds, and it goes over to, I don't know, SmugMug. They're partnering with all these facilities and places that make sense with shooting from camera to cloud. So it's not like a long turnaround. You could be delivering your shots the day of for a wedding if you wanted to. You could be shooting the Olympics and getting it over. And some of you are going to go, "Yeah, but Seth, that's on Wi-Fi, and you know how Wi-Fi is and where blah, 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 blah." They were showing me how they just purchased Wi-Fi for the event and they were just using it. And you're going to tell me that major stadiums don't have killer Wi-Fi set up that's only for this? Or something like Coachella, let's say. Someone could sponsor a Wi-Fi for the pro media and it could just go from camera to cloud. And what's amazing to me about this whole thing is that Fujifilm is basically saying, we hope all the other camera companies follow us. We hope that it just happens. We want this to be more of a common thing. And I'm like, wait, don't you guys want to have an exclusive? No, we want this to be everything and everywhere. And this is just a testament to the philosophy of Fujifilm, where they don't really play this game of spec for spec and, you know, trying to play whatever catch-up game to everybody else. They're just doing whatever they want to do and what they think is right and what they are excited to put to market. I mean, the GFX system, medium format, affordable and amazing. I own a GFX 100S. The X100V, which has become like a social phenomenon. I think you all know someone out there that's trying to get an X100V right now. It's amazing what they have as a philosophy as a brand, and I think this is really cool to show how active they are to get from concept to in hand. And as a guy who actually got a chance to use it, it was pretty awesome. I'm not going to front. Yes, you do have to be in the Frameio workspace, so if you're not, maybe that's not a thing. But they're also telling me about other integrations and other things. Like, he's basically telling me, like, your days of tethering with a cord are numbered, I'm telling you. And I'm like, I don't know. But Victor makes you believe, trust me. So anyway, Fujifilm, they've had a great year already with the XH2, XH2S, X-T5. If you didn't see my video on that, I'll put a link down below to that. I shot a chubby one-eyed cat. It was adorable. Just saying, link down below. And it's been incredible just to see them unfold with the camera to cloud integration, and it's only going to get better and better and better and faster and tighter and just easier to work with. I mean, it's just, which it already is. I'm telling you, at these trade shows, I was watching Fujifilm people running photo walks where they had QR codes on their shirt, and people are taking pictures of the QR code, and the shots they're taking from the cameras they're trying out are ending up in their phone in real time. That's pretty cool. So yeah, not to mention Instax. Hello, one of the funnest things ever in this industry. And the craziest part is that this is just going to be a firmware update upcoming for the XH2S to start, and they're going to roll out to the rest. So it's not even something you got to worry about. If you're in the Fujifilm system, they're going to give you a firmware update to integrate Frameio. If you want it, it's there. So pretty rad. Anyway, I feel like this episode's been going on for too long, but that's what Rewind is. It is just one take off the top of my head, and I thank you guys for sticking with me for this. Anyway, let's get into the question of the week. So what do you even think about camera to cloud? Is it something you want? Is it something you trust? Right? I know it's ones and zeros flying through the air and it's your precious images. I know, I feel you. I got you. And what do you think about AI editing as a creative? Do you trust AI editing to get you where you want to go as a final endpoint? Or are you just someone that shoots high volume and it's not that critical to you, you just want the images done and delivered? Let me know what you think about camera to cloud, AI editing, and you know what? I'll throw in a third question. Let me know what you guys think about trade shows, because I'll tell you right now, I think they're back in full force. WPPi was jammed. Imaging was probably twice as big. I'm really excited for this year coming forward, going forward. I don't know, you tell me. And are you guys interested in trade shows? I mean, I'm curious to see where we stand on this, because forever ago, before COVID, it turned into, well, we think trade shows are dying. And now I'm going to them and they're just popping and going nuts. It's pretty awesome to see. And beyond just the gear, it's a community thing. So you learn from people, actual pros. You're going to classes. It's not just like reviewing gear or checking it out. Yeah, that's cool. You can try out the gear before it's released. If it's been out there in the public, it's probably out there on a table somewhere for some brand. But really, learning in person is something that you just can't overlook. It's really special. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. This episode's been going on way too long. I'm sorry about that. But my name is Seth Miranda, Last X Witness on all social. Hit like, really helps this video and the channel out as a whole. If you've learned anything from Adorama, please hit like. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and the bell so you get notified when we put out more videos. You get up-to-date information about the industry, some amazing tutorials from some of the best pros in the world. Lindsay Adler, David Bergman, Gavin Hoey, Daniel Norton, Ab Cisse, myself. Yeah, so hit subscribe. We would love to see you guys be part of this channel and this community. And I'm going to put a link to the Discord down below where you guys can share work, troubleshoot for each other, and all sorts of things, and keep the conversation going. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's good to be back, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.